Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I have some friends in the studio today. Peter Jermyn and Dennis Rael from Los Bagels. Welcome.
Hey.
Nice to be here.
Yeah.
Great to have you guys
Scott.
here.
Yeah.
How many years in the bagel business?
Almost 40.
Wow. Is
Yeah.
next year the 40th?
Next year's the 40th, yeah.
Wow. I was debating that with Joni. We were in the other day.
84, 94.
Did we have?
Onward.
Yeah. Because it was a butcher shop, right?
Right, it was Roy's Quality Meats. I still have that original sign in my barn, actually. Roy Iskra, who had the previous facility. And I actually met Roy because I used to be a butcher before I was involved with Los Bagels.
Mm-hmm.
I was a butcher at the co-op, and I stopped in to do something with him and started talking, and he told me he was thinking of retiring. So
Back in the day.
because back then it was really hard to find location, to find any kind of vacancy. There just was nothing
Right.
around. So
Unlike today.
yeah,
Yeah,
today there's
right.
a lot of opportunities.
It's a lot of open
Yeah.
real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow, that's going back. Did you know David Lippman when he worked
Oh,
at,
yeah.
What was the co-op before it was the co-op? Natural Whole Food,
no, actually,
United something.
well, United Naturals. Yeah,
Yeah,
I worked with him over here in Eureka.
yeah.
Actually, I worked in that warehouse before I worked for the co-op. It's a completely separate scenario. It was interesting.
You go way back.
Place,
You must
so.
be in your over 100.
I'm 113.
You look. He's
Yeah,
holding.
right.
He's
There you
holding it
go.
well, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, how did you meet Dennis, and how did your association
Well,
with?
Claudia, my wife, and Dennis have the same birthday. I think it's a couple years or a year apart.
Year
Yeah,
apart.
it's a year
Wow.
apart. But so I got invited to a birthday party, and there was Dennis.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the first time I met him. Yeah.
So friends, and then partners, and now friend partners.
You bet.
Right. To make the story even more interesting, is I first met Peter's wife, Claudia, that we both rented a room in the same house in Arcata. And then we realized we were both, before we didn't know we had the same birthday, that we were both driving the identical same vehicle. And then realized we had the same birthday and going like, this is just too weird. So, and then I met Peter. Yeah. So
Universes colliding.
Yeah.
Peter, she's delightful, by the way. Got to meet her at a
Oh.
show there at the Arcata
Okay. Good.
Playhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
super nice.
Right. No, I got a pretty good choice in people.
Yeah.
Like I
The
just
jury's-
look up when their birthday is, and then I got
I'll line them up. So you married up like I did.
exactly.
Yeah, that's good. I like it. So give us a little history of the bagel business, if you would, and then we could talk about some other stuff.
Yeah,
You want to start?
well,
Or Peter?
Well, so Dennis said Roy Iskra had butcher shop 23 years in the same butcher shop. I'm like, that is phenomenal. The guy stayed in business that long. Now it's 40. So,
Yeah. Yeah, almost more than, well, it's got to be double one day.
yeah.
And why bagels? How, your heritage has a bagel background, right?
Right. Well, half of my heritage does. Like I said, I'm fortunate enough to have been, my family, my background is both Latino and Mexican on my dad's side, and my mother's side is Jewish, originally from the Ukraine.
Mhm.
And bagels were one of those items that I couldn't get up here. I was
No.
looking around, and when people would come to visit from either the Bay Area or LA or even relatives from back east, they say, "Hey, what can I bring?" And I'd say, "Bring bagels." And so,
That's what they say to us in Oregon now.
Yeah.
Bring us some bagels.
right.
right.
Well, now we were able to get things to turn around, and now people bring bagels back east and all over the place, which
Quick-
is
quick
which is
hard
great
stop.
to do.
I brought bags of bagels to Amsterdam to my son 2 months ago.
All right.
They were stoked. By the way,
Wow.
Joni put them in.
Did
She
you-
Yeah,
yeah.
got them, and we whipped those out, and it was like there was contraband.
that's right. Yeah.
Nice move.
that's
a good
Scott.
one, yeah.
Nice move.
So
They
for
love-
me, I started looking into, okay, what I wanted to, like Peter had said, I'd had my own business in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, Café Pacifico,
Oh.
which was the first Mexican restaurant in the Netherlands
Wow.
back in the late 70s.
Where was it in town? Was it?
On the Warmoestraat, 31, between the train station and Dam Square.
Oh, wow.
So right there, right on the edge of the red light district,
Good spot.
across or kind of catty corner from the police station.
That's when the red light
so-
was on fire, right? That
Yeah,
was
so-
crazy.
So when I moved to, after living in the Netherlands for a couple of years, I moved here. I did a little bit of some odd jobs, and like I said, I became a butcher at the co-op. But I realized I wanted to form my own business
Mhm.
and be in control of that, and wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I started looking into bagels, and to me, it was a little bit between bagels and tortillas. There weren't good tortillas here back then, and sad to say, there's still that gap. There's some individuals who are making tortillas these
Mhm.
days, but still on a larger level, I think it's still a great opportunity for somebody.
Yeah.
So at that point, I started doing a bunch of research and then looking around. Okay, I didn't want to do it alone. I've always liked the idea of it with a partnership.
Mhm.
Peter was one of the individuals that we become friends, and he'd had some business experience, and he was trying to figure out what he was going to do. He just moved up north here and was kind of weighing between, okay, here's an offer with a kind of esoteric bagel shop or something more firm as he could become a teacher, and he was kind of on the fence doing both for a little while here. So
Bagels is sort of teaching,
yeah,
right?
so-
You have to-
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah.
So tell us your background. Did you come from Southern California like a lot of us?
No, I came from, I lived on the Mason-Dixon line for a lot of my life.
Oh,
And then I moved right around the end of the 60s to Southern Humboldt.
oh, wow.
And then I realized, it's just hard to make a living in Southern Humboldt. It was really, like Dennis, I was doing every kind of job.
Mhm.
I started my own business, and I realized, you need to find something steadier. So I went to Humboldt to get a teacher's credential.
You mean Cal Poly?
No, it was Humboldt at that
It was
point.
Humboldt.
Thank you.
That's
Still,
right.
Yeah,
High
so-
five across the table.
Exactly. And so then I met Dennis, and we were talking about business, and I said, we really need a place to go have coffee and talk about business. And there wasn't a place like that.
Huh.
So when he had this idea for bagels, it was, we need a cafe. We need this place that people, all kinds of people, can feel comfortable to come and sit down and have a cup of coffee and meet. And so that was the genesis of the whole, hey,
Wow.
let's have a bagel cafe.
Sure.
Yeah.
And boy, do you have 3? Is there 3 now?
3, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Only one of which you can't sit down and have coffee at, up at the which is now called Cal Poly, but we sell bagels and a variety of things.
All right.
So,
That's like a running joke in this podcast. It's Cal Poly Humboldt, formerly known as
X.
the X. It's H now. See the big H everywhere. That's their logo. So now you guys have offshoots of this as well in terms of product, like the slime slug you sell.
yeah, slug slime and granola.
Mm-hmm.
Are two of the products that we sell in the stores and wholesale around, and also ship different places.
Gotcha.
So
What?
Well,
Go ahead, you were gonna say.
one of the cool things about the early days for us was that there were a bunch of us starting different kinds of businesses. And okay, so we needed jam for the bagels, and Susan Anderson needed to have a small business so she could sell us jam. And Perta was an artist but sold jalapeno jam, so we put her. Dixie had a Larapin Cafe and this great sauce. Hey,
Wow.
we'll put that on the bagels. Scott and his buddy
Mitch was his
Mitch,
initial buddy.
yeah.
Is that Mr. Fish or
Yeah.
the
Fish
And-
Brothers.
The Fish
so
Brothers.
we needed fish, so they, so
That's right. Mad River Jams, was that part of?
Yeah, that
Mad
was
River Jams, that was Susan.
Yeah.
And then even Matthew Schmidt with the Tofu Works
Yeah.
came and, hey, I can make tofu spread for you.
Did I see
And
Matthew? Is he still selling tofu?
I think so.
I haven't seen him for quite a while, but I think he's
I
still
thought I
around.
saw him
with
at the
tofu.
co-op.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
sitting at the
Yeah.
co-op the other day.
Right. Yeah, you would probably see him like stocking, bringing in.
figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So What's your job today? What's your title and what are your duties? I'll start with Dennis.
I'd say probably my title would be semi-retired.
Mhm.
I'm still obviously involved with Los Bagels. I'm president of the board, and then I meet regularly with two of our partners who have kind of taken over running of the operation. Both Travis May, the general manager, and Eddie Blakesley, the operations manager. So not involved in the day-to-day operations, but involved in a lot of special projects or the thing I like about it is now I get a call after the fact that just so you know, this water line broke yesterday and we fixed it.
It's done.
Instead of getting a call in the middle of the night saying, okay, we got water everywhere. What are you going to do?
Come on down.
So, but like I said, besides that, even during when I was working with Los Bagels full time, I've been involved in a variety of other enterprises, a lot of nonprofits, been involved in a wood export business in southern Mexico.
Wow.
Like I said, helped start the Arcata Sister City. Currently on the board right now of Humboldt Area Foundation. Been involved in Planned Parenthood board. Been involved with North Coast Regional Land Trust.
Right.
And still do a lot of stuff with them. Been real involved with the trails and the Humboldt Bay Trail.
Oh wow.
So, but still find plenty of time to go fishing and to go mountain biking and
Nice.
go hiking.
So this has been a platform for you, starting a business to do other things.
Well, I think that's just who I am. I think community-wise, and when you speak of platform, what I didn't realize when we first opened Los Bagels is how it could be a platform to involve other people. Excuse me, other people and other organizations and businesses to do a variety of projects. How we could get Coca-Cola or Kraft Food to donate to our sister city in Nicaragua by donating to Los Bagels, and then we would go ahead and resell that for a block party we're going to have to benefit somebody else.
Right.
So get community partners involved in a whole variety of way, and not just be a one-time shot.
Love it.
And just keep going on. And I think that's been a great part, and that's what I think juiced me up and made it keep going,
It's that win-win-win-win thing.
Right. And I think that's what goes back to when I look at our success as a business and, community organization, is because we've continually given back to the community in so many different ways, and they in turn give back to us and create that relationship.
Right.
So
that's such a cool story. I wish it was like that for all of us all the time, but you guys have made the magic. Sir, what is your job? What do you do?
Well, like Dennis, I'm semi-retired, but I'm fairly retired. Yeah. But one of the really good things that Dennis sort of alluded to is what kept us. We had different hats that we wore, and one of the hats was we worked and managed Los Bagels, but we also were board of directors, and we're still on the board. So we regularly would take off our working hats and put on our board hats and sit down and make decisions about the business in general, where it goes, how it works, all those kind of things. And so that structure really has helped. And it's helped us to be able to move as far along as we have. It's the other thing that has really always been true, and it's one of the traits that attracted me to working with Dennis, was this kind of integrity that comes with the whole experience of Los Bagels.
Nice.
Whether it's about the bookkeeping, whether it's about the products, or whether it's about the way we deal with customers, deal with customer problems. One of the best things about working there was all the people and the development. We got to do employment development work with young people all the time.
Wow.
I mean, I remember Dennis saying, like, this girl's not showing up on time, and what's the problem? And we find out she doesn't have a decent alarm clock, so they go across the street to the hardware store and get her an alarm clock. So
nice.
Yeah. So, but it was also a lot. The business could be a platform for other people. And there were a lot of people who were musicians, who were artists, who had other pursuits in their lives. So they were going to university, and they used employment at Los Bagels as a regular base, and then could go off, whether it was economic base or whether it was also just like a touchstone place. And
I
yeah,
love it.
yeah.
So when we have 9 kids, many of them live out of town. And is there anything that we could bring for you from Humboldt? Inevitably, it's some product from you guys. It used to be Dick Taylor, and now I think they have a library full. But it's almost always bagels or sauce or granola or whatever. We brought some granola to Amsterdam too. They loved it. I immediately tapped into it myself. But
I think one of the things that why those products are important, like to your kids who are away, and that's true for a lot of families and a lot of people who used to live here, is that they mean something about the essence of Humboldt in a way that's in the product. And, it's like,
yes, it is.
It's baked into it somewhere.
Right.
We only got 5 ingredients, but there is this secret one that is the Humboldt experience.
It's a great point. You touched on something that's, I think, critical. It's like these guys have figured some of that out. There's a product loyalty. It's baked into there's a magic. There's a memory.
Yeah.
It's probably has to do with taste buds. There's something tactile or, taste in that. So that, and then you become a product advocate. Yeah. Oh, these guys, you want some of this sauce? Oh, here's their website, whatever. And so
yeah,
you got people out there preaching that
and it's
that
the
message.
Experience that people had. I watched couples meet at the bagel shop sitting,
proposals. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're like, it really is a nexus of a lot of meeting.
Yeah.
Whether it's, and the, who meets and how it meets is different in Eureka and Arcata.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. So, what do you see for Humboldt going forward? What do you see? What would you like to see? And I'll start with Dennis and ask that. What's the future of our county as you envision it? You're on a lot of boards. The Great Redwood Trail's coming. I mean, there's some stuff. Hopefully, we'll get to see some of it.
That's an interesting question. I don't know if I have a vision going forward. I think there's going to be a lot of potential change coming to Humboldt. Obviously, the effects that we've had from cannabis over the years that we've seen go up and down, a little roller coaster. It's had, I think, a radical effect on this county, both positive and negative.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what's going to backfill on that void as that's coming up.
Sure.
You have all this space and stuff now that's not being utilized. And,
the boom and bust economy.
And expertise in there, people who are, some really smart people who have a lot going for them. Obviously, we have this wind power, which is coming, and that's going to be a huge change to the county, both what's going to happen infrastructure-wise and going forward here. And Cal Poly, as we know it now, and its potential. I'm not sure if it's going to meet its potential that we keep hearing about.
Right.
But, I mean, we've seen that a little bit. You can almost equate it to the cannabis business as far as boom and bust over the years that we've been in business.
The education boom and bust?
Well, the numbers, numbers of students that we've had, what they're shooting for on some of these numbers now are similar to we had back 20, 30 years ago, and how that's affected the, the economy.
Humboldt State.
Humboldt State. Right.
Humboldt Teachers College.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. So, I also think that the change and what's happening just overall with the county and the change and recognition of what the tribes are doing throughout this whole area, not just Humboldt County, but and a whole change in hopefully some of the vision of equity to what's going on. So I think there's a lot of potential, and it's neat to see another wave of entrepreneurs in a different sense. Like I said, Adam and Dustin with Dick Taylor are great individuals. And, and I think the key word that I heard from Peter talking about besides great product and product loyalty, et cetera, is integrity. And I think these guys really have that integrity, and I think that speaks volumes going forward. So I think there will be opportunities, of things that's going to be changing. Obviously we have climate change coming up, and so the population is going to change and increase.
Yeah.
So it's great opportunity, and to me, it's a lot of unknowns, to be honest.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with sea level rise, with all the property that at some point's, going to be flooded, and how do we adapt with that?
Wow.
Yeah.
I've asked the question a number of times, and you've come up with a couple of different angles that no one's mentioned. Climate change.
Yeah.
Boom and bust economy. I mean, don't they call this an extraction economy?
Right.
Isn't that timber and marijuana and steel?
Well, seafood,
coal.
Yeah. Fishing, the fishing industry.
Fishing. Yeah. All of it. Logging. What do you see for your Humboldt?
So I'll tell you, Scott, that when I first came to Humboldt, I met some old people, and they were probably just mature adults, but
they were 45.
They told me how Humboldt used to be so great. It was just so great. And, now it's just a mess. And that was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll tell you that I see that same Humboldt when I looked around, I saw opportunities.
Yeah.
Because we knew that the timber industry was going away. And, when I tried to find jobs in the timber industry in southern Humboldt, there really just all the mills were closing, all the little mills, and there just wasn't. And yet, look at what filled in underneath that in southern Humboldt. Okay, so there's that. And when I looked around Arcata, there were a lot of empty lots that were buildings that had burned. Nobody was rebuilding.
Remember that?
The hotel couldn't really keep tenants, and
Plaza had a burned down site on the old, was it a shoe store or clothing store?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So what happened was, when I looked at it, I saw, hey, there's an opportunity. And people like Alex Stillman came and said, hey, we can do this, we can do that. People like Dennis and I came and found things to do. Other people found small businesses. So when I look ahead, I say, I think there's tons of opportunities. And the better days are not behind us, I think.
Good word.
There's challenges. Hey, there were economic challenges 50 years ago. It was hard to make a living. There were, and it still can be, but there's also an entrepreneurial spirit in this county that I tapped into. I realized, hey, this is a place I want to be.
Yeah.
And when people say to me, hey, how come I moved here? That was one of the things that really attracted me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when I look ahead, I think there are challenges like climate change. But I also recognize that, when you look at the Arcata Marsh, and that was just a project 40, 50 years ago, it was kind of almost a brownfield site.
Yeah. It's a dump.
And we needed a sewer system, and that was innovative. I have no idea what the innovative next project is.
Right.
When I look at the peninsula and I think about all the economic activity that was on the peninsula, the shipbuilding, and Dick Taylor show you, hey, that's what and it was one of the biggest shipbuilding places in the country. That went away.
Is that Fairhaven at Samoa?
Yeah.
That way? Yeah.
We had 2 pulp mills here that were making paper that was high-grade, internationally known redwood fiber paper. That went away.
I'm going to be entertaining just for a minute. That's right out here on Samoa Peninsula.
Yep.
That's in Humboldt, right on the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, great points.
So when I look at, they're going to build a fish farm. I don't know whether it's the best thing that ever happened or not, but I do know that people have that look at it.
Right.
Look, there's another opportunity here.
Let's get curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I look at, say, the fish farm, I know people have to eat.
Yeah.
And people are really looking for good fish, and we can't get it out of the ocean, so maybe that's a good idea.
So economic development, spirit of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Who was it? It was Billy Hansel said. No, it was Larry O'Doss. He said, Humboldt's got grit.
Uh-huh.
I go, grit? I haven't heard that word in a month. That's a pretty good way to say it. I just heard you imply that. And so if you were to shout out on a few people that have grown and been entrepreneurial over the years, I mean, I think of Jewel Gin and Mad River Brewery and Blue Lake or Eric Olmquist, but who comes to your mind? I mean, there's some obvious ones that we all would top three.
You know, way back when, I think back that we used to actually have lunch on the plaza, a bunch of us who were entrepreneurs back then, and it was back to Don Banducci with Yakima, with Steve Cole, Steve O'Meara. It was Haliyashi, sitting down. It was Julie Fulkerson. And so I think you had I see some of those folks of almost being we started similar timing that they did, but a little bit predecessors and, going forward on some of these. And some have gotten to be international firms, and some have left the area, some are still here.
Sure.
But I think I look to those as being both peers and mentors, in a similar situation.
A little bit of renaissance there, in fact.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. This has never happened before. I'm so embarrassed. My phone went off.
That's good. I didn't think about turning mine off.
Yeah, you get yours quick. So, great point. So there's a little entrepreneurial renaissance back in the day, and you're saying, hey, the best days are maybe to come.
That's absolutely.
That's a great hopeful. I like that vision.
I want to make a little point. You talked about this being an extraction economy, which I think is really true. And I know something that we look at Humboldt Area Foundation is how to change some of the ethics of that. Because generally in that extraction economy, you have individuals getting taken advantage of to make that extraction happen and take it away from here instead of making sure that the people who live here and are working here get full advantage of what's happening in that whole scenario. Yeah. So, I look forward to things going in the future happening, but happening in a better frame of mind. Yeah. And, similar to what Peter said, as some of the best days are ahead. So when you look at an extraction, you look at wind energy, you look at fish farm, or any of these changes, okay, how can we do those in a way that really benefits that community?
Absolutely.
Instead of taking away from it,
That's good.
So
you benefit the locals, you keep money locally.
And that ethic wasn't built into a lot of the earlier extractive activities.
Georgia
that
Pacific,
it is now.
It went somewhere.
Now there are people with those kind of visions.
Yeah. I like it. It's good to talk about it, by the way.
Yeah. So one of the places that I look at what's happening that's really good is when I moved here, there were dairies and there was a mix of dairies all over the place. Now, all Humboldt milk is organic. And there are regenerative ag people who are leading the way and showing that there's premium in the marketplace. And so when I look at it, it's like a lot of these ag producers, it used to be that there were all the beef went to feedlots and got fed chemicals and to fatten them up. Now they're grass-fed beef, and there was marketing to do that, and there was this vision that we could do it better.
So sustainability, but more than that, you're saying on a demographic, local person, human level,
right? I think it's both ways. Like Peter was talking about. You take grass-fed beef, you take what Humboldt grass-fed beef and Lee Moore and his family has done, who've been here generations, but how do they adapt to make that a premium product?
Is he kind of the lead guy that did that? Dennis?
Well, he is one of the individuals, other people, but yeah, he was one of the lead people
Yeah.
with that. And I was fortunate enough to get to know Lee. We both went on the North Coast Regional Land Trust Board together from totally different perspectives, but both business people and both looking at that and somebody I value as a friend and different. I think we both were able to open up each other's eyes. And
I love it. Yeah.
And I see that continually happening. There's a number of, like Peter said, other dairies that are going on, and other people who are utilizing their land in a different perspective, and keeping that, and some of the work that Peter's doing with the Regional Land Trust of keeping these working landscapes so we can not split them all up and going forward and have a resource that will go for generations, so.
I think you just hit on something that strikes me as the magic of Humboldt. It's in a world of division now, that experience you just shared that's the magic of Humboldt,
Well, if you look at the mission statement for Los Bagels, it says a multicultural cafe. And when you came into Humboldt 50, 60 years ago, there was like a cultural split. And we've worked hard to heal that cultural split, to make sure that a whole lot of different kinds of people could all experience being at Los Bagels together.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's finding that common denominator. I think everybody has that, and reaching out to those folks to find what can we agree on, not necessarily what we disagree on.
Yeah.
And going forward and sharing some of the cultures, seeing, I have this great vision of this little kid bringing their dad, a little girl bringing her dad into Los Bagels right around this time of the year and said, "Dad, I want to get a menorah." Because she'd heard about that at school, and her dad said, "Look, we're not Jewish." She goes, "Dad, you don't have to be Jewish to have a menorah." And so here is this little kid teaching her dad about a whole different culture and how to open that up.
Right.
And that happens in, I think, so many different levels and have so much potential to do that, so.
Same thing with Dia de los Muertos, right?
Yeah, it's another deal.
But
open that up.
Even on the bagel level I remember taking a platter to K-Red and Dana Hall, who had never, he didn't have a first idea what a bagel was.
Country music station. He had donuts.
Right, exactly. And,
love you, Dana.
But he liked the smoked fish, and on air he said, "I'm sitting here eating a bagel and they're not bad." And I knew
it's a good endorsement.
I knew we were successful in reaching across the culture there.
Yeah, I remember eating bagels in that studio with them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you guys
see, that goes all the way back to when we started. He said, "Where did we were founded at?" I mean, our first location is at the Arcata location, 1061 I Street, which was Roy Iskra's Roy's Quality Meats. And when I told him what I wanted to do, he'd never heard of a bagel, and he was very leery of selling his property to somebody of starting this project he'd never heard of. And he was a guy who hung out at Don's Donuts every day. And I, told him about this, and he finally came back, and the months of negotiations were happening. I talked to my daughter about these, and she said, they're not too bad. They're all right. And so it was opening that whole thing up, even to him, so that it would work in that business situation. And it was it was an exchange. It was a humanitarian exchange.
Yeah. I'm hearing you say connection and relationship.
Yep.
What was the guy, the grass-fed beef? Is it Lee?
No. Yeah, Lee Mora.
Lee Mora. Is he still?
No, he's still around. And yeah.
Okay.
So you should have Lee. Lee would be a good one for you on your program.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. We'll talk to Lee. So you've experienced these kind of connections. You shared a couple. You got any other top of mind ones where you connected with somebody that maybe you shouldn't have? That wouldn't make any sense because they were so diverse?
Yeah. Yes and no. So one day, this was a long time ago now, but my father died, and it was on the East Coast, so I was flying east. And I was in the airport in San Francisco, and sitting across from me at one of those little places to eat was this nice couple. And they were just regular folks, and they said, "Oh, hey, where are you from?" And then They said they were coming from Ronald Reagan's inauguration,
How about that?
and they were the head of the Republican Party in Humboldt County. And they lived right up the street from the bagel shop. But I know that Robin Arkley walked right by the shop
Every day.
really often.
Yeah.
I remember waving to him before. And then after that, it was now I was a human, he was a human.
Did he come in for a bagel then?
I doubt it.
Ah,
They're too tough.
he's pretty hardcore, dude.
But and this was not Rob Arkley, who we know in Eureka,
It's his
but
papa,
this was his dad and mom,
Yeah.
who lived up at the top of the hill.
Yeah,
in
they're right
Arcata.
up the street.
Yeah,
By the Vets Hall up there. Yeah.
yeah.
Huh.
But it was one of those. Yeah, it is possible.
It's a connection. Yeah.
to reach.
I used to work at the Tri-City, as you know, newspaper, and my boss, Ron, sold it and moved to Orange County, and it's another story. But I said, what do you miss from Humboldt? He goes, we could be as diverse as we wanted, but we'd still connect with people from all the backgrounds. He goes, there were still relationships and connection and mutual exchange. You could go down the line and describe it, but I think that sets us apart. And in a world right now that feels super, super weird and divided, and sadly, but maybe that's we're the outlier in a good way.
I think it sets us apart and exists, and it's one of the attractions that I have here. But I also think it's important to not be fooled that there's a lot of conflict going on, and a lot of people who don't want to reach across the aisle and do that. That there's a lot of work to be done in that scenario here.
Good.
That I think lots of times people think of Humboldt County, maybe even Arcata, as this real liberal enclave, but there's a lot of things going on that maybe underneath the skin, they're not so liberal that we would think about. That, like I said, I see that on a regular basis. And so as great as it is, there's still work to be done. And keep reaching across that aisle.
Amen.
Meeting those people at the airport, and just opening that up, because I think there's those possibilities.
Yeah. In the Barbie movie, one of the lines is he says, "We hide it well." It's pretty
well. Yeah, I think one of the wonderful things about Humboldt is that the scale works. That because we have this big forest all around us, that we really are just here, and that it's not too big. So there really is that chance to see those people more than
That's a great point.
than one or two times.
My wife Joni's a runner and a hiker and a biker, and she constantly, hey, I saw your wife Joni. Joni saw so and so at McKinleyville on the Hammond Trail.
Yeah.
You ever heard of the Hammond Trail?
I got Hammond doors in my house.
Do you really? From Hammond Lumber?
From the railroad. Yeah.
From the oh wow. So I was going to ask, you get a full day off tomorrow for free to do whatever you want to do with whomever.
So wait, what does that mean for free?
To do whatever you want to do.
Oh, okay.
and you have pocket money. Just conjecturing. What Dennis, what do you do with a day off at Humboldt? What would be your ideal fun day?
Well, I'm fortunate that right now I have my daughter home for a few weeks, so I get to hang out with her and do whatever. I don't know. We've talked about a memory that I have as a kid growing up was making cookies with my mom, and so we're talking about doing a little cookie exchange between the two of us and make 2 or 3 different types of cookies. I'm actually going to be sitting down tomorrow for lunch with another local business owner and just exchanging information. Nothing really on the agenda. And I'm sure I'll go for maybe a little bike ride or a hike someplace, and then turn back around as we have a little meeting at Los Bagels tomorrow. With a consultant coming in to do some work there. So it'll be mixing all that up.
I hear a lot of people connection.
No, I think it is. Yeah. So
that's an ideal day. So how far do you ride when you ride your bike?
Generally I mountain bike now. I used to do a lot of road biking and I used to ride to Trinidad regularly. And now I spend a couple hours 2 or 3 times a week up in the community forest, or we'll go some other places and ride there.
Yeah.
So shorter time in miles, but more get your heart going.
Oh yeah. There's
And once again, it's that people connection. People that I ride with are real close friends.
yeah.
And we look after each other, and it's a great social experience along with a good workout. And
Yeah, my wife Joni's
So-
turned me on to that forest. It's
Yeah.
something special. Now, are you still a boat guy? Would,
Yeah.
would
yeah.
boating be part of your
Yeah, it would
day
be.
off? Just
yeah,
guessing. I just throwing it
That-
out there.
that's right. No, I got a boat at Woodley Island, and regularly during the time when it's daylight savings, we sail on Wednesday nights. But now it's Saturdays, and there are fewer of us who go out to sail together. But yeah, so sailing's a real part of them.
Besides sailing, what would you do with your free day?
What would I do with my free day? These high tides that have been lately
Oh yeah.
make me want to take my rowboat and go up some of the sloughs and investigate some places that I wouldn't get to go otherwise. The Land Trust has a piece of property, the Freshwater Farms Reserve,
Right.
and if you look, when you go by on Myrtle Avenue, a lot of times lately it's been flooded. You could actually
that far
boat
up.
right up.
That has the access. I've seen people
Right,
take
yeah.
Yeah,
kayaks
well,
on
there's
parking
a
lot, yeah.
slough that comes all the way around there, but lately, because of these high tides, the water comes up the slough and then fills that property.
put in right there.
Yeah, so that could be some real good exploring.
Yeah, we insure a lady named Betsy who's a big time kayaker, and she's
Yeah.
she's our age, and she goes out all the time. Trinidad or the Bay or the sloughs, and
Yeah, no,
really.
that's great.
It's a good trip from freshwater, riding the tide down to Humboldt, down to Woodley Island or
Sure,
someplace
yeah.
down there, or the opposite if the tide's rising to
Huh.
take a ride up.
Never thought of that.
We did it in moonlight one night, and
Whoa.
yeah,
That'd be neat.
it puts you in some interesting places, because you're cow fields all around, but you're real close to the airport, Murray Field.
I have a kayak story that'll tie this in. So when I was a young insurance guy 10 years ago, at age 53, I went down with my satchel and my sport coat to see Don Brown and to, job shadow and see what Don was up to. And what a great guy. He said, Scott, he's from Texas, there's some shorts and some sandals in there. Go get dressed in his apartment next to his business. And I said, okay. And he goes, I got the kayak strapped on. We're good to go. He had two 18-foot, I think they were cherry wood or something. He made them himself.
Mm.
He goes, we're going to Hookton Slough and we're going to go kayak. And I go, I guess this is part of the deal. Let's do it. And it was the Zen moment of insurance trading that was the greatest. He goes, Scott, I want you to bring a big check when you come to funerals. I want you to sell life insurance, but I want you to enjoy Humboldt County. And he goes, this is how I do it. And it was 2 or 3 hours of just, 70 degrees. It was a magic fall day, and on the bay down there. And I go, man, what am I thinking? How do I miss out on this? Because we live, I was going to say Disneyland. That's not a good analogy. What do we not have here?
Right. We got a lot of nature that we can.
Yeah, we do.
Right.
So let's talk challenges. So you kind of touched on a couple in connection, and what do you see, Peter, as our obstacles going forward?
Well, so one of our shared values for Dennis and I, when we first started in business together, which we, kind of like checking, what do you want out of business? And one of the shared values was we want time off.
Ah,
And so one of the beauties of being a partner was to be able to, I can cover while you're gone, you can cover while I'm gone.
yeah.
And so one of the challenges of living in Humboldt is to really make sure that you take advantage of doing that. Put the shorts on and put the sandals on and go because it's these days you can fill your days up with activities and miss the fact that you have this kind of closeness to nature and engagement. And you
Mhm.
think about how many trails there are around here, and trails that you may not even have been on.
Right.
And,
Mountain biker paradise, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
for walkers, for runners, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and back roads to explore and waterways to explore. So one of the challenges is really to remember that you need a balance between getting things
I
done,
like it.
getting there, and experiencing what it is. So I think your guy Dan Brown was onto something.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it giving yourself permission to go
Yep.
offline. So Saturday was a magic day. Joni goes, "Let's go to the Grove of the Titans up at Stout Grove in Crescent City," and I go, "Yeah, I didn't pass the test." I got all this other stuff. I got to go to grocery outlet and get some organic milk. I just did. She was in the moment. She was ready to go, and I'm going, well, I have responsibilities, and so maybe we don't always get that one right. And the next day it rained like hell. So
That's the challenge. Then.
Yeah.
Take
Yeah.
it when you got it.
that's a great bit of advice.
Peter brought up a really good point, and something I'm fortunate enough that I get to a couple of times a year go to lecture up to a business class at formal Humboldt State. And one of the things I always ask kids is, why do they think that we started Los Bagels? And in probably 10 or 15 years I've been doing that, one kid has come up with the correct answer.
What's that?
And the correct answer was, I wanted more time off,
Nice.
which is not the answer if you're going to be an entrepreneur and if you're going to start, especially a food business, and to do that. But from the get-go, kind of like Peter said, and early on we had a third partner who was helping us out, that we traded off. We both were not afraid to work hard. And, I remember falling asleep at the table the first year or two because we were working so many long hours. But I also wanted to play hard, and do that. And we traded that off. And I think to this day, I feel incredibly fortunate having Peter as a partner. I think I feel closer with him now than maybe 30, 40 years ago.
Sure.
And we live across the valley from each other. And we always joke, "Oh, I saw your light on. What were you doing at 3 a.m?" And that
Same thing you were.
But we also have some of those similar values,
Yeah.
to get out. And I think both of us also like to travel a fair amount. So, we're coming and going and checking in on that.
Yeah.
But no, and I think it's so true. It's that I hear in Peter talk, I see how easy it is to not do those things. And I think COVID for me, taught me a lesson of say yes and don't say no. It's so easy to say no on so many different opportunities.
Yeah.
And we all do that on a regular basis instead of saying, yeah, okay, that wouldn't have been my first inclination, but I'm going to do that because, like you said, it may pour tomorrow.
Right. Yeah.
And live in that moment.
Yeah. So Jody and I are getting a little bit older, and so we have two principles. One is, let's try new stuff. Always look for it. We haven't done that. Let's try that. And the other is, let's get curious. Let's find out what's behind that. Why does that person think that way? It'd be kind of interesting to know their life experience and where they're coming from, or that experience of kayaking or going to Stout Grove or whatever it would be. I'll leave this as an open question. So of all the platforms besides the business, the offshoots that you were alluding to, what are you, which one would you like to highlight or talk about? Sister City? What are you proud of? What are you proud of? What would you like to, shout out that you see that's a favorite? I don't know, a favorite or one that you are especially feel great about. You want to go first?
Okay. Well, I feel really great about the longevity of Los Bagels, and I've talked about it earlier, but how many people we have affected and given them a good start. I'll tell you, there were people we hired who didn't have any work skills, and we really helped form them into people who had the discipline to go to work, show up on time, and just do the simple tasks that are required to organize yourself to move forward,
Professional
make
development.
progress.
Yeah. Sure.
Make progress in your own life.
Yeah.
And I think that we also have been a model for a lot of people to say, oh, hey, that's how, you could actually do a business. Oh, I could, if they can do it, I could do it.
Yeah.
So that kind of idea.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A model. Yeah.
Yeah.
Modeling that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And I think we're both showing the guys who are running the bagel shop now how to move to be retired and still active.
The succession plan.
And and I think
Yeah, which is probably not easy if it's been your baby for and just for the record, the marriage the marriage is beautiful. I love it. Most partnerships don't last.
Partnership is like a marriage. There is no doubt.
No, it's great. I think it's applaudable.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
To add on a little bit to what Peter was saying, is we were able to offer opportunities to people who, word was getting out, and I'll use an example of I got approached from these folks from the Sacramento area who their son was coming to school and had some real disabilities, and they wanted to see if they had heard that we would potentially hire this individual as a place for him to develop, and it was to get some work skills, but to have a community and to work on. And so I was shocked that they'd heard about this from other people, just through word of mouth. And I remember sitting down at that point. The brewery was, it was still catty corner for us, but the early brewery, and having lunch, and there was 4 of us talking and would we consider, and they were even willing to pay us to hire their son so that he would have an opportunity and try to learn some skills and what could work and work in the back. Well, he ended up working for us for about 3 years, and we slowly saw, and we paid him from the get-go, but we slowly saw him develop and create community within the store. He'd done some other work with his dad, but he'd never really had a real job per se. But we've been involved with that multiple times of different individuals to give them an opportunity to do that. And it's way beyond what the actual work is going.
Sure.
So that's just what Peter was saying. If I was going to say what I wanted to highlight, I would say none of the things that you had mentioned. I would highlight, I guess, how proud I am of my family and my 2 daughters.
Nice.
That one of them is home right now, and they're just both great human beings and make me incredibly proud.
That's cool that you can balance that work-life thing.
That's a hard one.
Are you a grandpa?
No, I'm not. So, yeah.
How about you?
Yeah. And if you said, "What am I going to do tomorrow?" I might be driving one of my granddaughters to something. So yeah,
he's a great grandparent.
How many grandparent kids?
I just have 2 grandkids, but they live right around the corner, and half mile away, quarter of a mile away.
Wow.
And they're both like Dennis. I can be really proud to know them, but they're both kids who have developed full personalities, and it's a nice thing to watch.
It's a cool thing, man. Yeah. Adult kids that are great.
Yeah.
Good for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the payoff. My dad was a really neat guy, Bob. He came to a meeting, and I said, hey, we're a bunch of sales guys, and you're a sales guy. What would you tell us about life? What are your top 3 takeaways? And I thought he'd have a notebook in a half hour, and he'd be ready to go. And he said, if you're in business for the money, you're only about half paid. And I stopped and I go, well, where's the rest? I whatever he said, I missed it. He goes, if you're in business and sales just for money, you're about half paid, because it's about relationships and connection and that outreach and that development, all the things you guys are talking about. And I thought, man, I kind of got mad at him after, but I figured it out. It took me some months and years to go, oh, that's what he said. It's about the human connection and the reward of 2 beautiful daughters or some 2 great grandkids, or all that comes in. So as I wrap up, I'll throw this to you first, my Toastmaster friend. First of all, thank you for speaking on Italy. Gosh, it must have been 10 years ago.
You really liked that
That
story.
was the guy did a pretty good speech. He really, I mean, I'm in Italy in my head. I'm going, man, I got to go to Europe at some point. So we got to go to England last summer, and this fall we got to go to
right.
Amsterdam. So I don't know what's next. Probably Amsterdam again. But great speech. Thank you. So we have a little speaking background. So travel is your passion.
Yep.
With that, I'll lead into my final sounds so final. What does it say on Peter Jermyn's tombstone? What would you like to be remembered for? What's the etching in the stone? What comes to mind?
Well, there were a couple of things that were real hard for me to learn in my life, and I think one of them was forgiveness, and I didn't really realize how important it was.
Real important.
Until I was in my 50s, and I started to like, and so that would be something I want somehow to be remembered for.
Yeah. Let it go, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really critical.
Yeah.
Funny how it takes us that some of us are slow learners even on that topic,
Yeah.
just like,
right.
What are you holding that for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Dalby from Redwood Capital says, unforgiveness is me taking poison expecting you to die.
Yeah, right. Like, exactly. I got it.
It's lunacy.
No, that really resonates.
Yeah, I really like that. He hit that one well. Dennis, what are they going to say? What's your tombstone reading?
Oh, that's interesting. That's a good question. I would say a good father cares about family and community.
Nice. I love it. Straight to the point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fellas, appreciate you guys being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for taking some time, and happy holidays, happy Hanukkah. Are we in Hanukkah yet?
It's over.
It's over. It already is.
Right. Yeah.
See,
You're just early.
Right. Well,
you're just early. Look at it that way.
I'm early. Yeah,
early for next year.
Coming up right away.
Yeah.
Anyway, great to have you guys. And Los Bagels at Arcata, Eureka, at the Cal Poly Humboldt campus. And it kind of parting shot here. I forgot to ask this. I'm sure you've been approached by franchisees, the idea of franchising, the idea of doing something bigger. Will it happen? And if so, why? If not, why not?
This could be a no other show. We can.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's a long.
Has that come up in the legacy
absolutely.
discussions? Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, and this was one of the best pieces of advice Dennis ever gave me. I said, we're in the wrong business. We should be selling bagel shops. And he said, where do you want to live?
Huh.
How do you want to live?
Huh. Good answer. Yeah.
And when I took that to heart and then started to experience it, I said, a person who knows he has enough has plenty. He's got enough.
Amen, brother. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, same thing with our Humboldt Heroes or Veterans Recognition. Or Paul Brousseau was interviewing me. He goes, hey, very good question. He goes, you want to go statewide, national? I go, I think that would wreck it. It would wreck the genuine organic thing that it is. And it's small. It's designed to be small. And it's meaningful at its scale. So anyway, thank you, Peter Jermyn.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
Scott.
Dennis.
Thanks for giving us a chance to put our thoughts to words. That's
absolutely.
good.
Happy holidays to you guys.
All right. Same to you.
Have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.